Hello, hello dear students. How are you? Very good morning to all of you. Today we are with the text number 12 from mine. The important passages from Macbeth for your explanation, for your reference and context. We have been doing the important passages from this play in order to understand the story in detail as well as understand the difficult and important dialogues and the lines from this play. These important passages will clear the theme of the play, the story of the play, as well as the dramatic importance and the techniques used by the playwright Shakespeare. That will also be clear through these explanations. You will also be able to discuss the various important questions, various points, various issues regarding the play after having completed these passages or the extracts. So now for today we are with the text 12, that is the text here. I recite, "Here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood, and his gashed stabs looked like a breach in the nature, for ruin's wasteful entrance. There, the murders, steeped in the colors of their trade, their daggers, unmannerly breached with gore. Who would refrain that had a heart to love, and in that heart courage makes love known?" So this is the passage or the extract from Macbeth, and let me first tell you the context as well as the reference of these lines. As we have seen that these lines are from Macbeth, and we have been doing now act second and these lines belongs to scene third of act second of this play. Up to scene second of act second, what we have seen? We have seen that Macbeth has murdered King Duncan. And we also saw his reactions after the crime, after the commit of the crime. He shares his reactions with Lady Macbeth. But Lady Macbeth, who is supposed to be here very bold and courageous, scolds Macbeth and tells him not to worry and not to show the fears on his face, but look normal, natural. Because she means to say that this blood which Macbeth is showing on his hands is nothing, and according to her, a little water will wash away their hands, and then there will be no blood at all. So this is what we have seen after the murder of King Duncan. Now we enter into the scene third. This scene is also known as the Porter scene. because this scene begins with a porter who is still drunk from the party, goes to open the gate of the hell for some new entrants. Here what we see in the beginning of this scene is that there is porter, and the porter is sleeping and dreaming. And here we should understand who are the porters, or who is the porter. Here the porter means the safeguard or the gatekeeper of the hell. The gatekeeper of the hell are called the porter. So the gatekeeper of the hell, that is porter, is dreaming, and what he see in his dream is that there is someone who is waiting on the gate of hell in order to enter in the hell. He is the new entrant, that is, he has come from the earth after the death and wants to enter into the hell. So the porter who was already late in the night, and his intoxication has not finished yet, that is means he is still drowsy. So when there is a knocking from outside, the porter opens the gate. So let's see. Here Shakespeare uses the dramatic irony. The audience are seen. The audience are given the show that the porter is there at the gate of the hell. But we know, we the audience, we also know that this porter is really standing or at the gate of hell, because very soon Macduff and Rose and others are coming there. And when they knock, why they knock? They knock in order to awake in order to awake the king, because the king had told Macduff to awake him a little earlier in the morning. So the safeguard who were at the gate of King Duncan's chamber stood up suddenly when they heard the knock, and they opened the gate. So here see what Shakespeare says, that is the porter at the gate of the hell. But we know very well that really the chamber of King Duncan is the hell, and the two guards are the gatekeeper and the porters of that hell, because the dead body of King Duncan is lying there. So it is no less than a hell. So this metaphor here, or this imagery, has been used by the playwright. So this is the background, or this is the beginning of this scene. After this, we see that Macbeth also comes there. Macduff is already there. And why Macduff has come there? Because he was told by the king to awake him earlier. Now Macbeth and Macduff, both of them, they meet there. They talk for some moment. And then Macduff says that I have to go to awake the King Duncan. So he goes to the chamber of King Duncan. He goes to Duncan's chamber. But he suddenly returns. He quickly returns back, announcing. What he announces? He announces that the king has been murdered. And at his announcement, the bell is rung. There is the high alert. Everyone is running here and there. Lady Macbeth also awakes, and She comes there as if she was awakened by the call of the bell. The nobles. Nobles, who are the nobles? Macduff, Macbeth, Roose, and the other courtiers who were attendant. In fact, they were the attendant of the king. They all go to see the king's body in the chamber, and they confirm that the king has been murdered. And then the sons of King Duncan, whose names are Malcolm and Donelville, they are also told about the incident, about the murder of their father. And then what happens? Then we see Macbeth's excitement. And in his excitement, Macbeth kills the king's attendants in fury. Macbeth kills the porters, we can say. The Macbeth kills the two guards who were guarding at the gate of King Duncan. So he at once kills them. When Macduff asks to Macbeth, why did he kill them? Then Macbeth justifies his action. And he says that he did so because of his love for the king. And that is beyond the measure. So he could not stop himself, and all his powers of mind or reasoning or of thinking failed in respect of the king. So he says that he has killed these two grooms. And he says then that in presence of such a crime, no man could feel agony of it, no man could feel indignant, yet keep his wrath in check. That is, nobody can check, can control his wrath, his anger, and he would not tolerate such a crime. And therefore he has murdered these two grooms. This is what said by Macbeth in order to justify his action to Macduff. Because here Macduff is suspicious about Macbeth's action. It enters into the mind of Macduff that there is something wrong behind all these. So this is what the context and reference of these lines. I have spoken a lot, that is detail the context of these lines. Now come to the lines, the difficult words of the lines. The silver skin. Silver skin means here white skin. So King Duncan's skin is the silver skin, white skin. Gashed stabs means gaping wounds. Gaping wounds which have been made, the broad, wide wounds which have been made by the murderer while murdering the King Duncan with sword. Breach in nature. And so in this way, there are the gaping wounds, the wide wounds, as well as there are the holes in the body of King Duncan. Breach in nature. Nature means here body. Breach means here holes. Ruins, wasteful entrance. That is wide wounds. There are the wide wounds made by the murderer so that the death might enter in the body. So the wide wounds have been made so that the death may enter into that. It means that king has been brutally murdered. That is, there was no escape from death. Death was certain there. Steeped means dipped. Colors of their trade means the blood. That is, these grooms are steeped with the blood. They are covered with the blood. Unmannerly means hideously, chupke se. And we can say conspiracy, conspiring. Breached with God, that is covered with blood. So these grooms are covered with blood. Their hands, their swords are covered with the blood. And they have done this act unmannerly, hideously. Refrain, check himself. Macbeth speaks that how can he check himself? To make love known means to express his love for the King Duncan. So, this is what the meaning of the difficult words. Now, come to the explanation. So, when we go with the explanation of these lines, we understand here, we see here that Macbeth goes on to say that his love and devotion for Duncan has prompted him to immediate action. So he could not keep self-restraint, self-control. So Macbeth is here in these lines justifying his action of murdering these two grooms, these two guards. That he says that because of his love and devotion and affection towards Duncan, he couldn't keep him self-restraint, or he couldn't control him doing the murder of these two grooms. He says, Macbeth says that look at Macduff, on the one side lying the dead body of King Duncan. And then he describes the dead body. He says he is smooth and tender white skin of the King Duncan was stained with blood, was covered with blood. Everywhere there was the blood on his body. So it looks as if some silvery texture here means the white skin body of King Duncan, which is interlaced with patterns of gold. Here the patterns of gold are made by the blood. So we have here the metaphor. Macbeth uses metaphor, beautiful metaphor. So the body of King Duncan is like the silvery texture, and upon that body there are the stains of the blood. These are the patterns of gold. That is as if the body was interlaced, silvery texture was interlaced with patterns of gold. Then he says that is gaping wounds, which looked like so many breaches. So gaping wounds were looking like many breaches, wide breaches. And these are supposed to be the wide openings in his body. And these wide openings, why? These wide openings were as if to enter death into the body. That is as if the death wants to enter or will enter into the body of King Duncan through these breaches. And these breaches were the gaping wounds which were made by the murder. So this is what Macbeth says. Macbeth speaks. Macbeth describes. On the other side he says, were lying the murderers, shocked in the blood they had shed. So Macbeth describes that. Then he says that their daggers were also stained with the blood. They are also covered with the blood. So who will stop himself seeing this scene? That is, it was clear from the evidences that these grooms have killed and murdered the King Duncan. So seeing these circumstances and conditions, looking at these circumstances, Macbeth says that he couldn't control himself, couldn't check himself from doing what he did. So in this way he tries to justify his action. Macbeth tries to justify. Then he says he didn't lack in courage because he is bold, he is brave, because he has been journal, he has fought the battle very bravely and won the battle as well as. So he demonstrated his love for the king in this way. That is, he showed his love of for the king in this way. That is by killing these two grooms. So this is what we have the meaning of these lines or the explanation of these lines. The important point of these lines is that Macbeth is trying here to justify his action of murdering these two grooms or two guards when asked by Macduff. So let's go with the critical note of this scene as well as of these lines. So Macbeth's far-fetched metaphors and forced antitheses are the hyperbole of hypocrisy. So here we see the example of the hypocrisy, and hypocrisy is also at its highest. So Macbeth here is the hypocrite, and he is describing King Duncan's body and his love and affection. These are the words of the hyperbole, of the hypocrisy. So how he describes everything and how he shows his affection and love for King Duncan, whereas we people, whereas the audience, we know that he is himself the murderer of King Duncan. Then we have the Potter scene in this scene. The Potter scene, as I told you, is the best example of dramatic relief as well, because dramatic irony. Once I said dramatic irony, but it is also the best example of dramatic relief. These are the devices used by the dramatist or the playwright. So the Potter scene provides relief to the audience, because before this scene what we have seen, that the act of the murder had been done. So the climax of the play was there, and all the audience were filled with the horror and terror. But now when the Potter scene begins, it was just a humorous and a fun was there. That is, the Potter who is sleeping, dreaming, and then he is making comments on the entrance, and in the last he opens the gate. Okay, who wants to come into the hell? Come. So this gives relief to the from the tension of the horror and terror of the murder of the king. This scene also gives Macbeth, this Potter scene. Potter scene gives Macbeth and Lady Macbeth to prepare themselves for the next actions, or prepare themselves for the day, what they have to do, how they have to speak, how they have to announce, how they have to express themselves. So it gives them the time. As I told you, it relieves the strain upon the mind of the audience for a short while, who forget the horror of the deed. Now the audience feels something relaxed. This scene is as the best example of dramatic irony, I have already explained. And here we see also the difference between this difference of character between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. Now what we see, Macbeth is now becoming bolder than before. Earlier he was trembling, but now he has become bold, and he himself, without taking any advice from Lady Macbeth, he himself has killed these two grooms or the two bodyguards of King Duncan. Whereas what we see, Lady Macbeth, who was earlier bold and courageous and was showing so courage and valor and bold speeches, everything was there. Now when she hears the murder, the information of the murder of two grooms by Macbeth, she faints. She becomes unconscious. So now Lady Macbeth has become a little weak in the mind and heart. So this was for today, dear friends, and I hope that you will enjoy it, as well as this will help you to understand the story of Macbeth, the scene that we have discussed. Thank you very much. See you.